Hello. Welcome back to the Mason System. So this channel is a channel basically for the most part dedicated to Ace Attorney, detective games, what have you, right? And I had this miraculous idea where I was like, hey, what's a cool little interactive video project we can do? And I'm like, hey, we can do Ace Attorney hot takes. Ooh, yeah, so Ace Attorney hot takes. I don't have that much of an audience, so I can't just put up a post on Twitter and be like, send me your hot takes. But if you guys follow me enough on Twitter, maybe you guys could be involved in the video if you have hot takes to share. I don't know. So follow me on Twitter if you want to, elevate that, I guess. Or leave a comment in one of these videos if you have a hot take that you want shared in the next video. We'll see how this goes, but it's just an idea. For now, we're going to run to our best friend Reddit. The goal of this video isn't to disparage anyone in particular, or if it's more so just to look at the takes and see if I agree with them, see if I disagree with them, and have a little discussion about what some of these hot takes are. So, 4-3 is honestly pretty good and my personal favorite in Apollo Justice. Yes, it has giant leaps in logic, but it's the most fun out of any of the cases and has the best character uses. I might agree. I think Turnabout Succession still beats it for me, but I think 4-3 is really good, especially for Clavia. There's an interview that Takumi had where he heard a big critique of 4-2, Turnabout Corner, was Clavia was too easy, he's too nice, man. And so he basically wrote 4-3 in a way where he was like, Clavia is going to be like a mean guy, right? I like how it does a great job at characterizing Apollo as kind of jealous and envious of Clavia. Gay lawyers, we love it. Clavia. Even the fact that he's just really frustrated about his concert being torn to shreds. Emma, that's where we get Glimmerous Fop. There's so many, there's a lot of good character stuff there. Leaps in logic, this is my perspective, I like it in relation to what the game is trying to say. And I think it's one of the more fun cases outside. I love Turnabout Trump and I love Turnabout Succession, so it's one of the more fun cases, but that's just me saying 3 out of 4 of Apollo Justice is really good. So yeah, I agree, but I wouldn't say it's the best case, but it's really good. I do enjoy it. Clavia is my favorite prosecutor, or nearly so at least. I didn't think this was a hot take, but I guess the general opinion is that he's an underdeveloped character. I never thought so. I always thought I liked his go with the flow, stay cool in your face of hardship. Really interesting. He rarely cracks, and those few times he does, or the few moments, are very memorable. It was also nice to see a non-angsty prosecutor who doesn't attack you. The joke was starting to get old, and Clavia was a breath of fresh air. I agree with this 100%. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think I've ever said this in a video, but Clavia is my favorite prosecutor. I think it's a bit tropey and kind of a bit played out now to have I'm the prosecutor and I'm perfect and I only care about getting my guilty and I'm gonna attack you and let's go. It was played out. It was, dare I say, it was played out in the trilogy. You had Edgeworth, you had Manfred, and you had Francisca. I was a bit tired of it. Even Godot, even though they kind of play a joke on it, was playing into this idea initially where it's he's never lost, right? And, even if it was a joke, Clavia is such a breath of fresh air because to me, like you said, those moments where he cracks are memorable. I remember Turnabout Serenade very clearly because I remember all the moments he actually got mad. Those moments in Turnabout Succession where it was what do you think you're trying to pull, right? So Apollo, bringing up the past, right? It was cool, right? And because Clavia keeps such a cool persona, one, he does a lot for Apollo's character and Emma. He has a lot of good dynamics with the team. And even Truthi is kind of enamored with him, sees him as a prince, right? Even though Clavia is the reason that Felix lost his badge. Clavia has a lot of unique dynamics that I think, a Blackwell, right? I saw a great video recently about this. Blackwell has a great dynamic with Athena. Apollo and Phoenix, not so much, right? Nayuta, do you know what I mean? But the point I'm making here is that you can put Clavia in a bunch of different situations and get something interesting out of him. Whereas I feel some of these attack you very angry, I'm about to be perfect. They're almost interchangeable in that restraint. Obviously, they're all different characters, different dynamics, different goals, different motivations. but Clavia does something very unique that stands out to me. And his moments, like when Francisca snaps, Francisca's a great character. When Francisca snaps, I'm not thinking, oh, I love that moment, right? Because it's hard to remember because he snaps all the time, right? You know, like it's when Black Quill goes silent or like breaks his shackles. Like the only one I remember was the one in case 4. Like, do you know what I mean? And Nayuta, like the cases are so long, I don't even remember when he does the bead thing to the characters. So like going to that point, like Clavia's moments are a lot more memorable because he's super chill. Because when he breaks, you're right. Ah, man, I could go on all day. All right. The juror system and multiple witnesses on the stand are the best gameplay in the series. Big disagree. Big disagree. I cannot speak to Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney. I know that everyone says that one's cool, and like the way in which they frame it, like the level design in that is really interesting. I could only speak for the Great Ace Attorney, and I will play Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney probably this year, to be blunt. But all right, the Great Ace Attorney. No, I've made videos about it. Just to quickly reiterate the point, I don't like how involved the jurors are in the trials. I think everybody declaring guilty and breaking the pace of the trial isn't fun. And I don't even think comparing the jurors' statements so they have a unanimous opinion makes much sense in the way of proof. I really don't like the juror system. And multiple witnesses, at least, again, in the Great Ace Attorney, I don't see what's so interesting about an audio cue going in someone's ear, and then you like you move the direction right or left, and you're like, "Excuse me, you got something to say?" Like, I don't know how. To me, that's not very engaging. You know, like, dare I say, I'm not gonna say the mood matrix is better. If that's a hot take, but like mechanics like the Magatama or like joint reasoning do more for me than those sorts of mechanics. But I understand best gameplay in the series is a low bar for Ace Attorney. So I understand why you would say that, but I personally disagree. Woo, you guys be writing your little dissertations, man. God, I love Reddit. The Great Ace Attorney 1-2 is genuinely amazing case. It manages to subvert expectations in a lot of good ways. It introduces Herlock Sholmes, the dance of deduction mechanic, which I love. It's the only case without a trial, and yet was engaging and interesting to me the whole way. But I think the ending is what elevates it most. It's the most emotionally powerful second case in the whole franchise, and it affected me in a way more than some final cases. Not only is it sad, but it's tragic. It makes something out of the tragedy. It sets up Ryunosuke's upcoming arc. It's this case that really allowed me to emotionally identify with him and Suzato throughout the 2 games. I honestly have no idea why people sleep on it so much. Most of what I've heard about it is that it's forgettable or boring or it's bad. Hey, few things. Alright, the Great Ace Attorney wasn't doing it for me in the first 2 cases, I'll be so blunt. And a big problem was the pacing, and the investigation segments in Ace Attorney are the weakest part of it, period. And while the dance of deduction is fun, there's also that padding element because Herlock Sholmes is like he's just wasting time, right? I do agree with the emotional resonance things. In fact, if I can say this now, I think the first Great Ace Attorney Adventures, the first one, that one does a better job at making me emotionally resonate with like Kazuma's death, Ryunosuke's arc, everything. Like a lot of the character stuff in that first game is really strong. And you're right in the end of the game, where like the end of that case, where Ryunosuke is like, I hope you know, like, I know it was a mistake, but I hope you know what you did. Like, really, like, they had some real harsh words for like the little, like the ballerina girl, right? In that sense, it wasn't very Ace Attorney at all, but I did like that. That was cool. And so when you talk about that emotional resonance, I do get that. I think it wasn't that fun to play though, right? And I'd be very transparent. And I think that's a big element of it for a lot of people. And the trials are always the most interesting part of Ace Attorney. You know, I think I like that they tried to do something different, and I understand why they had to do it in the way that they did, but, you know, apples and oranges. Turnabout Memories is the best starting point for someone getting into the series, and I recommend 1-1 be played second. Disagree. Big disagree. First Turnabout is perfect. It's quick and to the point. Memories is still short-ish, but I literally did this. I did this with my fiance. Had her play First Turnabout and Turnabout Memories, and the first Turnabout she got through. Turnabout Memories she needed my help with. So like, I would actually disagree. First Turnabout is straightforward, communicates the way you need to think about Ace Attorney. It's the best tutorial. That's the best way I can word it that Ace Attorney ever created, and it still hasn't been topped. I'll be honest, still hasn't been topped. We will do one more. The Mastermind doesn't always have to be someone that's pulling the strings since the beginning. I don't know why they're afraid to introduce a new character in the finale case that's the Mastermind. On the same note, not every case needs to be connected. Agree. Big agreeing, right? That's Yamazaki a bit. That's Takumi in places. Yeah, you know what? That's both of them, man. To be honest, I don't hate it. When it works, it works. But like, okay, DGS 2, case 2. They were like, oh, we have to look back on that case. The one we did right after. Right, it's so relevant. And then the case ends, and then you see the dog color. And I'm just like, we didn't need to do all of that. You guys are trying way too hard to connect these cases. And I agree. I don't think they all need to kind of be connected. I think the only games that don't really do it are the first game and the second game. Outside that, you're kind of right. They do kind of try to do that. I think one of the Polo Justice tried to do this too, like with Drew Misham, and I was like, bro, what are you doing? Trials and Tribulations tried to do it, and I think it worked for the most part, but, you know, Phoenix dating what was effectively Mia's cousin and Pearl's half-sister is kind of contrived, let's be very honest. I think Dual Destinies does it quite well, oddly enough. I might be tripping out. Yeah, no, I think Dual Destinies does it quite well. It has the episode structure is weird, but I think they do it quite, like, in a quite decent way. Turnabout Revolution, yeah. So yeah, I agree with you on principle, but sometimes they do it better than other times they do it. It really does depend. Like, if there's an overarching organization, I think it works. But, like, the Mastermind does not need to be involved in every case. Like, you know? And I would actually prefer if Ace Attorney... and this goes back to the idea, if Ace Attorney focuses more on its cases and case design, right? Like, you don't have to think, oh yeah, this is where we go and tie in Mr. Reaper. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with that. All right, thank you guys so much for listening to the Ace Attorney Hot Takes video. If you guys have any hot takes for Ace Attorney or any opinions that you want to add, like, throw them down in the comment section below. Talking like a YouTuber. Well, but yeah, no, I find this, like, sort of stuff really interesting, and it's kind of cool to get a sense for, like, what different people are thinking. I would love to be able to, like, host these kind of discussions a bit more. I know, like, part of this early channel was doing podcast discussions, bringing people on to kind of give their takes on Ace Attorney, and, you know, it's an interesting little series. So yeah, tell me if you want to see more. Thank you guys so much for your time. All right, take care. Bye.